My dad mocked me for being a janitor. He toasted at Thanksgiving to the kids who made something of themselves and didn't end up cleaning toilets. I didn't respond. I just left. Years later, he sat outside my office, waiting for a job. I, 32M, am writing this because, honestly, I need to document the absolute absurdity of the last 6 months before I start to feel sorry for him. I won't, but the human brain is funny like that. It likes to rewrite history to make things softer, fuzzier. I need this to stay sharp. I need to remember exactly why I did what I did. If you looked at me now, you wouldn't guess where I started. I wear tailored suits, not because I care about fashion, but because in my line of work, looking the part is half the battle when you're walking into a boardroom to negotiate a 7-figure contract. I run a specialized facility management corporation. We don't just clean. We handle biohazard remediation, high-security data center maintenance, post-construction particulate removal, and sterile compounding room sanitization. We are the invisible army that keeps the infrastructure of the city from collapsing under its own filth. But 10 years ago, I was a guy you walked past without seeing. I was the guy emptying the trash, and while you had your heated phone arguments in the hallway, I was the guy scrubbing the scuff marks off the linoleum at 3 a.m. I was a janitor. And according to my father, I was a waste of oxygen. My father was a corporate man. Old school. He believed that the only measure of a man's worth was his job title and the square footage of his corner office. He was a vice president of sales for a mid-tier logistics firm. He wasn't a CEO. He wasn't an owner. But he acted like he was the master of the universe. He wore cufflinks to barbecues. He judged people by their shoes. And he absolutely hated, that his youngest son was scrubbing toilets. It didn't matter that I was making decent money with overtime. It didn't matter that I was paying off my own student loans, because he refused to help after I switched majors from business to history. It didn't matter that I was happy. To him, I was a stain on his reputation. My brother, on the other hand, was the golden child. He was in law school. He was going to be a professional. He was the one Dad bragged about at the country club. I was the one he changed the subject about. The tension had been building for years, like sludge in a clogged pipe. Every holiday was a performance review. He'd check my fingernails for dirt. He'd ask if I'd found a real career yet, while I was passing the mashed potatoes. I bit my tongue. I respected the hierarchy. He was my dad. Then came Thanksgiving 5 years ago. The incident. The house was full. My mom had gone all out. Turkey, 3 kinds of stuffing, the good china. My aunts and uncles were there, my cousins, the neighbors. My brother had just passed the bar exam. He was glowing, sitting at Dad's right hand like the heir apparent. Dad was in his element, holding court at the head of the table, a crystal goblet of expensive red wine in his hand. He tapped the glass with his knife. Ting, ting, ting. The room hushed. Dad loved a captive audience. He launched into his speech. He talked about the economy, about hard work, about how our family was a pillar of the community. He heaped praise on my brother, to the esquire in the family, the man who would defend the innocent and bill the guilty. Everyone laughed. My brother smirked, that arrogant little tilt of the lips he learned from Dad. Then Dad's eyes landed on me. The warmth vanished from his face. It was replaced by that familiar look of sneering pity. He swirled his wine, letting the silence stretch just long enough to be uncomfortable. And finally he boomed, his voice projecting to the back of the dining room. I want to make a toast to the children who actually made something of themselves, to the ones with ambition, to the kids who didn't end up cleaning toilets for a living. He raised his glass toward my brother. Cheers. A few people chuckled nervously. My mom stared at her plate, pushing peas around with her fork. She never stood up to him. She was an enabler of the highest order, preferring peace over justice. I sat there, frozen. I could feel the heat rising up my neck. It wasn't just an insult. It was a public execution of my character. He had invited these people, my family, to watch him dunk on me. He wanted them to know I was beneath him. Something inside me snapped. It wasn't a loud snap. It was quiet. It was the sound of a bridge burning. I didn't yell. I didn't flip the table. I stood up. I took my napkin, folded it into a perfect square, habit of the trade, and placed it next to my full plate. "Sit down," Dad barked, his smile dropping. "Don't be dramatic. It's a joke. God, you're so sensitive." I looked at him, really looked at him. I saw the insecurity behind the bluster. I saw a bully in a Brooks Brothers suit. "Enjoy the turkey," I said. My voice was steady, which surprised me. I walked to the hallway, grabbed my coat, and opened the front door. "If you walk out that door," he shouted. Standing up now, face turning that blotchy red he got when he lost control. "Don't you dare come back. You want to be a garbage man? Go live in the garbage. Don't expect a cent from me when you're old and broke." I stepped out into the cool November air and closed the door. I didn't slam it. I just clicked it shut. I deleted his number from my phone before I even started the car. I blocked my brother. I blocked my mom. I went home to my studio apartment, ate a bowl of cereal, and made a decision. I wasn't just going to clean toilets anymore. I was going to own the company that manufactured the toilets, installed them, and billed them for the privilege of using them. Metaphorically speaking, I spent the next 5 years grinding. I stopped being an employee and became a contractor. I realized that the real money wasn't in general janitorial. It was in the stuff nobody else wanted to touch. Biohazards, hoarder cleanouts, crime scenes, industrial accidents. I got certified in hazardous waste handling. I learned the OSHA regulations inside and out. I registered my LLC, Apex Solutions. I lived on nothing. I reinvested every penny. I bought better equipment. I hired guys who were like me, hard workers who had been overlooked. I paid them 20% above market rate, so they'd never steal and never leave. We built a reputation for being the ghosts who came in, solved the impossible messes, and left the place spotless. Fast forward to 6 months ago. Apex Solutions is a powerhouse. We have 200 employees. I own our headquarters, a renovated industrial loft building downtown. I have a sleek office with glass walls and a view of the skyline, but I stay low profile. I don't use my full name on the website, just my initials and last name. I don't have social media. I am the man behind the curtain. My father, on the other hand, had hit a wall. I kept tabs on him through a distant cousin. The logistics firm he worked for got acquired. The new management didn't care about his tenure or his golf handicap. They saw a bloated salary and an outdated skill set. They asked him. At 58, he was out on the street. He spent 8 months unemployed. He burned through a severance. He was apparently getting desperate. And that's when he walked into my lobby. I was in my office, reviewing a contract for a hospital chain, when my VP of operations, Sarah, buzzed me. "Hey, boss, we have a situation in the lobby." "What kind of situation?" I asked. "Did the vent cleaning crew trip the alarm again?" "No," she said, her voice lowered. "We have a walk-in applicant. He's refusing to leave. He says he's a senior executive and that our online application portal is broken because it auto-rejected him. He's demanding to speak to the owner." I sighed. "What's his name?" "First name, Dad's first name, last name, my last name. Same as yours. That's why I called. Relation?" My pen stopped moving. The world tilted on its axis for a second. "Send him up," I said. "Are you sure?" He's being kind of a jerk to the receptionist. He told her she needs to smile more. "Bring him to conference room A," I said, "the one with the soundproofing. And Sarah, print out the deed to the building and the incorporation papers. Just have them on the table." I stood up and walked to a window. I needed a minute. I checked my reflection. I wasn't the scrawny kid in the janitor uniform anymore. I'd filled out. I had a beard. I was wearing a charcoal suit that cost more than his first car. I walked down the hall to conference room A. Through the glass, I saw him. He looked older. His hair was thinner. His suit was a little shiny at the elbows, but the posture was the same. He was standing by the window, inspecting the caulking, looking for a flaw he could criticize. He was holding a leather portfolio like a shield. I opened the door and walked in. He didn't turn around immediately. "About time. Look, your front desk girl is completely incompetent. You need to train your staff to recognize executive talent when it walks in the... He turned around. The words died in his throat. His mouth hung open. He squinted, as if trying to adjust a camera lens. My name? He whispered. Hello, Dad, I said. I pulled out the chair at the head of the table and sat down. I didn't offer a handshake. He stared at me. He looked at the room. He looked at the view. He looked back at me. His brain was misfiring. You work here? He asked. Did you get a job in maintenance management? Is that it? Can you get me a meeting with the CEO? I couldn't help it. A small, dry laugh escaped me. Dad, sit down. He sat, slowly, on the edge of the chair. I don't work in maintenance management. I said, I am the CEO. I founded Apex Solutions. I own this building. I own the company you're trying to apply to. He blinked. Once. Twice. Bull. Sarah, I said to the air. The intercom on the table lit up. Yes, sir. Please confirm for the applicant who owns Apex Solutions. You do, sir. My full name, sole proprietor. Dad slumped back in his chair. The color drained from his face, leaving him a pasty gray. He looked at the papers on the table. The deed, the articles of incorporation. He picked them up with trembling hands. I watched him process it. This was the moment he would realize he was wrong, the moment he would apologize. But I forgot who I was dealing with. Entitlement is a hell of a drug. His shock morphed into something else. A smile crept onto his face. It wasn't a happy smile. It was a predatory one. He sat up straighter. He adjusted his tie. Well, he said, his voice booming again, regaining that fake sales floor confidence. I'll be damned. I knew you had it in you. I stared at him. You knew I had it in me? The last time we spoke, you told me I was garbage. He waved his hand dismissively. Oh, stop living in the past. That was tough love. And look at you now. It worked, didn't it? I pushed you. I knew you needed a kick in the pants to get serious. If I hadn't been hard on you, you'd still be plunging toilets in some dive bar. He was rewriting history in real time. He was taking credit for my success. Anyway, he continued, leaning forward, putting his elbows on my mahogany table. This is perfect. Truly perfect. It's fate. I've been looking for a new challenge, and let's be honest, you're young. You've done well, kid, really, but scaling a business? That takes executive experience. That takes gray hair. He opened his portfolio and slid his resume across the table. I'm willing to come on board as a senior VP. We can call it Chief Strategy Officer. I can take over the operations, handle the big clients, talk to people who matter, and you can focus on whatever it is you do, the technical stuff. He wasn't asking. He was telling. And he added, lowering his voice to a conspiratorial whisper, we need to bring your brother in. He's having a rough patch. The law firm let him go. Total political hit job. Not his fault, but he's brilliant. He can be general counsel. We'll make this a family empire. The last name group. I sat there, listening to him plan the hostile takeover of my life. He wanted to displace me in my own company. He wanted to hire the brother who mocked me. He wanted to turn my hard work into his retirement plan. Are you finished? I asked. He smiled. Just getting started. Son, when can I start? Monday? I'll need an office. The corner one down the hall looks empty. I leaned forward. Dad, there is no job. He froze. Excuse me? I am not hiring you. I am not hiring my brother. You're not qualified to work here. His face turned a dark, bruised purple. Not qualified? I have 30 years of sales experience. I am your father. I put a roof over your head. I fed you. You owe me this. I owe you nothing, I said, my voice cold. You toasted the kids who didn't end up cleaning toilets. Well, here I am, the king of toilets. And you are an unemployed applicant who didn't do his research. My company values hard work, humility, and respect. You have none of those things. He stood up, slamming his hands on the table. You ungrateful little brat. You think you're better than me because you got lucky? I will ruin you. I will tell everyone what a fraud you are. I will tell your mother. Go ahead, I said. But before you do, you should know that this room is recorded for quality assurance purposes. You just threatened to slander a corporation and its CEO. And unlike you, I can afford the best lawyers in the state. He snatched his portfolio. You'll regret this. When this house of cards falls down, don't come crawling back to me. He stormed out. I watched him go. I felt a shaking in my hands, not from fear, but from adrenaline. I thought that would be the end of it, just a bad scene to recount over beers. I was wrong. He went nuclear. 3 days later, the reviews started. Google, Yelp, Glassdoor, the Better Business Bureau. Dozens of them. 1-star reviews appearing every hour. Apex Solutions stole jewelry from our office during a night clean. The owner uses illegal chemicals that made my staff sick. Discriminatory hiring practices. The CEO hates older people. Total scam. They don't even clean, they just spray water and leave. They were all from new accounts. They were all written in the same distinctive, pompous voice my father used. He wasn't even smart enough to vary the vocabulary. He used words like egregious and malfeasance in a review for a cleaning company. Then came the lawsuit. I got served at my office. He was suing me for promissory estoppel, age discrimination, and breach of implied verbal contract. He claimed that 10 years ago, I had promised him a share in any future business I created in exchange for consulting advice he gave me as a child. It was insane. It was a fabrication. But in the U.S. legal system, anyone can sue for anything, and you still have to pay to defend it. My clients started calling. Hey, we saw those reviews about the theft. We need to pause the contract pending an investigation. I lost 2 mid-sized contracts in a week. That was $40,000 a month in revenue. Gone. He wasn't just throwing a tantrum. He was trying to burn my house down because I wouldn't let him move in. I called my lawyer, a woman named Rebecca, who makes pit bulls look like poodles. He wants a war? I told her, let's give him a war. Scorched earth. We went to work. First, the digital forensics. We hired a firm to trace the IP addresses of the bad reviews. Surprise! Surprise! They all originated from a residential IP address registered to my father. But here was the kicker. 3 of the reviews were posted from an IP address registered to my brother's apartment. The golden child was helping him. My brother, the lawyer, was helping file false reviews. That is a disbarable offense. We compiled the evidence. The recording of the interview where he threatened me. The IP logs. The timeline. We filed a motion to dismiss his lawsuit, which was expected, but then we filed the countersuit. We sued him for defamation per se, tortious interference with business relations, and abuse of process. We sued my brother for defamation and filed a formal complaint with the State Bar Association regarding his conduct. The legal process is usually slow, but when you have undeniable proof of fraud, things move faster. The deposition was a turning point. I wanted to be there. I sat across the table from him and his lawyer, a guy who looked like he operated out of the back of a nail salon. Rebecca started the questioning. Mr. Last name, did you write this review on Yelp under the username ConcernedCitizen55? I don't recall, Dad stuttered. He was sweating. He looked small. We have a subpoenaed log from your internet service provider matching this post to your home router at 10:42 p.m. on Tuesday the 14th. Do you deny this? He looked at his lawyer. His lawyer looked at the ceiling. I might have been frustrated. I was expressing my opinion. Your opinion that Apex Solutions uses toxic sludge? Do you have chemical analysis to support that? Because that is a statement of fact, not opinion. And since it is false, it is libel. Rebecca grilled him for 4 hours. She tore apart his consulting claim. She made him admit on the record that he had never given me business advice other than to get a real job. Then came the brother. When he found out we had him on the IP logs and were reporting him to the bar, he folded instantly. He called Rebecca and offered a full affidavit against Dad in exchange for us dropping the bar complaint. He threw Dad under the bus so fast I almost felt bad. Almost. We won. We didn't just win, we crushed them. The judge granted a summary judgment on the defamation. The damages were calculated based on the lost contracts and the harm to reputation. The total came to roughly $250,000 plus legal fees. Dad didn't have $250,000. He had a mortgage and a leased BMW. My mother called me the day the judgment came down. She was sobbing. "My name, please. You can't do this. He's your father. He'll lose the house. He's almost 60. Mom," I said, gripping the phone, "he tried to destroy my business. He cost me clients. He lied in court. He tried to ruin my life because his ego couldn't handle that I was successful. But he's sorry. He's learned his lesson. He's not sorry he did it." I said, "He's sorry he lost." I didn't back down. I enforced the judgment. He had to sell the house I wasn't allowed to visit. He had to cash out his 401k. He had to sell the car. He moved into a one-bedroom apartment 2 towns over. My brother, terrified of the association, went no contact with him. The family fractured, but for the first time, it wasn't my fault. I just held up the mirror. They were the ones who couldn't stand the reflection. That was 3 months ago. Yesterday, I was doing a site visit at a regional grocery chain. We handle their floor waxing and cart sanitation. I like to check in personally on the big accounts. I was walking through the automatic doors, checking the gloss on the vestibule floor, when I saw the cart attendant. He was wearing a neon yellow safety vest. He was wrestling a line of 20 carts that were stuck together. It was cold out, and his nose was running. It was him. He looked up as I walked in. Our eyes met. He froze. He looked tired, broken. The arrogance was completely gone, replaced by a dull, aching humiliation. He wasn't the VP of sales anymore. He was a guy cleaning up the mess. He waited for me to say something. He braced himself. He probably expected me to laugh, to mock him, to make a toast to the men who made something of themselves. I stopped. I looked at the carts. I looked at his hands, chapped from the cold. I felt nothing, no anger, no triumph, just a profound sense of indifference. He was a stranger to me, a cautionary tale in a yellow vest. "Make sure you wipe the handles down," I said. "Flu season is starting." I didn't wait for a response. I walked past him into the store to meet the manager. I didn't look back. I realized something as I drove away. My father spent his whole life trying to be above the dirty work. He thought he was too good for it. But the world doesn't care what you think you are. The world only cares what you do. And if you treat people like trash, eventually you get taken out. If you like stories about scrubbing entitled stains out of your life, hit that subscribe button. I promise my content kills 99.9% of germs and narcissists.